Hello, love to you and your loved ones and experience of all that is. Let's take a second, put our hands in some way on the center of our chest, and just have some gratitude and take some deep breaths. Have some gratitude not just for friends, family, and things outside of you, but things within you and things that are so simple yet most profound, as in nature, the universe, even something like a day. There's a consciousness to the day, to the night, to the morning. For the life force that you breathe in, and for the air. Okay. Now this is really great. I'm very excited because everything that I've ever talked about, and I'm talking years of talking about stuff, boils down basically to this. And Michael Tessarian, the brilliant, well-read Michael Tessarian, brought me to this place where he crystallized a lot of the stuff that I've been saying, Okay, so the ego self, it's a huge problem that people talk about, and mystics always talk about, religions, etc. Now, let me just boil things down first. The ego is, according to Michael Tessarian, a part of our consciousness that was fragmented from our whole consciousness because of trauma. And this trauma is on a mass level, which is a shamanic idea, and a alchemical idea, which is as above so below. Stars and us are connected. The universe outside above us is connected to the earth on the ground, but it also as within so without. So the world without, outside of us, humans, wars, and our controllers and all of this crazy society is actually affecting us within, because it's a direct reflection, and vice versa. So if we change ourselves and improve ourselves, clear our trauma within us, we're also clearing the trauma and improving the world around us. And that's on a mass, not just mass, but on a huge level, on a macrocosmic level. Okay, so what I've come to conclude from all of this is that ego isn't the conscious mind like I used to talk about. Ego is what separated the conscious mind from the subconscious. And I guess, and obviously it makes sense, the conscious from the superconscious, which is what a lot of spirituality is. We want to try to find that our higher self and merge it with our conscious, so that when we're awake and walking around every day, that we can actually get these messages, which is what a lot of spirituality is about. And how can I get them connected to my higher self, spirit guides, intuition, psychic ability, which is basically taking your higher self, your superconscious, and putting it into your conscious. It's always there, but we just don't. There's just a veil between, and then there's a veil between the conscious and the subconscious. And we don't know what's really holding us back, because it's all in the subconscious, hidden deep. But there was a good reason for that, is because humanity went through a mass trauma, and we separated these things. We separated the subconscious from the conscious, because, we put all the traumas there, among other things, but we put all the traumas there, and so that we can operate on an everyday level, we have the conscious mind separate from the subconscious. An obvious thing is, in the world today, people wouldn't be able to go to work or anything if they were completely integrated with their subconscious, because then you would think about anything and everything that traumatically happened to you. And this is on a mass level too, so you're reflecting all the traumas of the whole world within you, and then you're like, I have to go to work now, so it makes sense. But work is a whole nother problem, and that's part of this another thing I talk about, which is the adversary in the world, the villain in the world, which is, the shadow government, or you could call it, there's also dark spirits, dark energies in the world. There's, maybe dark extraterrestrials if you're into that. And so, but it's not their fault, good and evil always exists. It's just part of the dance. But we can change the way we think of good and evil, and realize that we are responsible too, and we are affecting the whole world. And well, at the very least, we got to take responsibility for our own problems, which are the problems of the world too. So, okay, so another thing is, I've concluded that a better way to put it is our ego is our defense mechanisms, learned from going through trauma. Because before, long time ago, there's a lot of very, very old ancient ruins. I'm talking fast because this is so much. There's a lot of ancient ruins, and these cities, or whatever you want to call them, didn't have walls, didn't have weapons. They couldn't find any weapons. They couldn't find any mass graves, meaning no wars. And so there were times in the very distant past that we aren't really aren't taught, because we just talk about history of humanity starting from civilization, that is 5,000 years till now. But there was so much more before that, and that was, maybe, and I think Michael Tsarian says that he thinks that the ego was created 5,000 years ago, which is where society started, according to modern thinking. Written history was the beginning of humanity, which is ridiculous, as the modern human, that is. And so there was a time when the world was harmonious, and there was no need for ego, and the subconscious, the conscious, and the superconscious were merged holistically, one whole, okay? So, and what else? Yeah, it's a means of survival. Okay, so how do we know if we're in our ego? First of all, I'm going to say that probably all of you are in your ego. So, don't be surprised. You, first of all, one easy way to put it is, you are in your ego if your life is based upon your worth is based upon the world outside of you. And that includes other humans. In fact, this is a huge part of it. Who do you know that doesn't base their life around their family and friends, and their lover, boyfriend, husband, girlfriend, or the search for their future husband or wife? This is all ego, because egos need other egos to feel their existence, to know that they exist. And it's outside of you, okay? Your worth is outside of you, which on a Buddhist level, and on a lot of different levels, philosophers, etc., they'll just tell you that this is ridiculous, because this is suffering. If your world is based upon what your family's doing or your friends are doing, people outside of you that you can't really control, well, and obviously that's going to lead you down a path of suffering, because your boyfriend might leave you, your boyfriend might cheat on you, your boyfriend or girlfriend or anyone, your friends even, will backstab you, your family included. They're not going to do what you want. And so this is just ridiculous when you really think about it logically, but this is just the way that we've been, well, I'll just say the way that we live. And it's ego based. Now the other thing obviously is ego is things outside of you, as in your career. That's another huge one. If your validation, your worth is based upon your career or anything outside of you that you do, that's ego. you know, getting championships in basketball, or do pretty much everything, you know. Pretty much everything in the society is ego based. And when I say ego, once again, not arrogance, it's ego self, which is that separate self from you that is not the true identity of who you are, your authentic self. Um, what else? Well, I did pretty good actually. And you know, with Buddhism and Hinduism, they talk about void magic. They don't say it that way, but that's the way Michael Tsarion says it. But it's just working with emptiness, the void, which is something I talk about a lot. Um, so, oh, and what is another thing that Michael Tsarion talks about is sorcery and magic. Sorcery is basically what the government and corporations do to us. And I'm not saying it's, you know, once again, it's not their fault. You know, he says, don't think that you were sold a lie, you bought a lie. We're responsible. So, you know, and there's that devil card where the devil is has the two humans in his shackles. But if you see the shackle's really big around their neck. So all they have to do is go like that and take the shackle off, and that's the devil. And you know, the villain of the world in any place, good and evil. We are enslaving ourselves, and that's depicted beautifully in the devil card in tarot. You should see that picture if you've never seen it. Um, okay, so sorcery is magic. Um, this ties into ego because sorcery is using the ego, because the ego is a weak, fragmented consciousness, and they've used that and manipulated us and used that against us. And that's what, you know, you see in everything. It's just society in general, you know. Of course, commercials and everything, but that includes friends and family and, you know, and like everything I've been just saying. Um, so magic, what is magic then, according to Michael Tsarion? Magic is just, it's so simple, but it's hard to understand that. Magic is just the sublime realization when you wake up in the morning and say good morning, not to a human, but to the morning itself, to the consciousness of the morning. When you talk to nature and have relationships with nature, have personal relationships with trees, personal relationships with light. I mean, and I'm talking physical light, you know, like, and just the miracle of the simple miracle, like it's so simple and so miraculous and so profound, yet it goes over our heads. And we start focusing on movies and entertainment and all this other stuff because inside we're really dying, you know? So we need these shots. It's like a shot of adrenaline every second because we need more and more and more because deep inside we're empty because we haven't found out who we are. We haven't taken the time to find out who we are and then to cultivate who we really are and integrate our true selves and become whole again. And that's just everything I talk about. You have to clear. It says another thing. The ego is hard to overcome because we have to also then overcome our own selves and overcome our trauma. It's easy to say, oh, it's not about the world outside of you, it's just within you. It sounds like the easiest thing because here you are, right here, right? But that means you have to face your traumas. And so that's a huge barrier which subconsciously you're avoiding. Why do we not change always, often? Because deep down you really know what's going on. You just don't want to go there, you know? There's people always talk about the fear of unknown. No, it's the fear of the known. Even death itself is a fear of the known to me. We've done it many times, but besides the point. Why don't we change who we are? It's just here we are, right here, you know? Because it's the fear of the known. You know that there's stuff hiding inside of you and you don't want to deal. And you're also dealing with everything that humanity has done. And that's a huge one. It's hard to deal with that because humanity has done a lot of stuff, not just bad stuff, but we've run from ourselves for so long and it's a lot to face, you know? All right, but you can do it. You're going to do it because it's just the most logical thing to do. You're going to have to face these things sooner or later. So That's why. All right, later. Love to you and your loved ones.